Welcome to ICEF Monitor. I'm standing here with Professor Dira Balawi from Saudi Arabia, from the International Group of Education Consultancy. You know a lot about the CASP program. What's the CASP all about, and what's about CASP TT and CASP 8? What's going on there? Can you tell me a little bit more about what's going on in Saudi Arabia, what's going on with these scholarships?
Yeah, for CASP, actually, as you know, it started in 2005. CASP is the King Abdullah Scholarship Program, for those people who don't know. It started in 2005 and extended 2015. One of the most important subtypes of CASP is CASP TT, which is King Abdullah Scholarship Program for the preparation of technical trainers. And the CASP TT is managed managed by the TVTC, which is the Technical and Vocational Training Corporation, accepting students from the colleges of technology and vocational institutes. I think it's important to talk about the CASP TT conditions, and this is actually what the educational institutes want to know. TVTC gives non-engineering students 2 years to complete their bachelor degree. So basically it's a 2+2 program. However, for the engineering students, they are given 2.5 years to complete their bachelor degree. So basically it's a 2+2.5 years program.
So what does the scholarship include in terms of accommodation, in terms of tuition fees, and?
Yeah, it's like CASP. CASP TT is part of CASP. So all the rules that given to CASP student will be given to the CASP TT student. So tuition fees, accommodation, if chaperone, if it's female, then they can take the chaperone with them. Yes, so it's definitely the same like CASP program.
So imagine I would be an educator and I'm applying for CASP student from Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
How do I get an accreditation? What can I do?
Actually, this is a very important question. Definitely there's a set of criteria actually put by the MOHI, Ministry of Higher Education in Saudi Arabia, and SACM, which is the cultural mission here in the US. Generally speaking, we are talking about professional accreditation, national accreditation from unique and prestigious accrediting agency here in the US. Another conditions would be, the ratio between the local students versus the international students. Another important point is the entry requirement. So all these points actually are taken into consideration when the MOHI accredits US university or institute.
These are the official criteria, and they're very important. But I have the feeling that, especially in your region of the world, personal relationships play an important role.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, in addition to the criteria I've just said, the institute, the educational provider, is recommended to come over to Saudi Arabia and meet with the responsible people there in the Ministry of Higher Education, because this will actually enhance the process of accreditation to the institute.
So personal relation is key, and
definitely
one of the keys to be successful. Let's talk a little bit about destinations. And what destinations are interesting for Saudi Arabian students traditionally, and where they might want to go, or where you see the future trends?
Actually, as you know, the most preferred destinations are the US, Canada, UK, and Australia. However, it's very important because some people tell me that, some students are going to Egypt, some students are going to Malaysia. Actually, in the CASP 7 and CASP 8, most of the students, they prefer to go to the US, to the UK, and to Australia. Why? The reason is the unrest fueled by the pro-democracy demonstrations and pro-democracy movements, which is known as the Arab Spring anyway, actually may be contributing to the outward student mobility trend. As you know, with government overthrow and ongoing protests in Egypt, in Jordan, in Bahrain, as well as the intense violence in Syria, these 4 countries will continue to experience varying degrees of socio-political uncertainty and instability. So that's why students, Arab students mainly, will continue to look for work and study destinations abroad in the US, Canada, UK, and Australia.
That's very interesting. And you mentioned work. Like after they finish their degrees, their studies, and they leave the university or the college with a degree, do Saudi Arabian students, I mean, the CASP, I think, involves that students getting back to Saudi Arabia, but how is it with working? Do Saudi Arabian students traditionally want to work in foreign countries after they finish their studies?
I don't think the case is true for the GCC countries, the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, because people there are affluent, they have the financial capability, and they have the opportunities in their countries. So I don't think it's actually the exception rather than the rule that the people, students from the Gulf countries, they stay after they finish their study in the US or in the UK. It might be true to some extent for students from the East Mediterranean countries like Jordan, Palestine, Lebanon, and Syria, because the financial situation is different. They are a bit not rich actually, but definitely there will be a proportion of students who finish their study in the US. They will stay there after they finish their study.
So let's look a bit more into destinations. We're talking about destinations right now. Egypt. Traditionally, 6% of all Saudi Arabian students which are participating or have a CASP scholarship are going to Egypt. You think it's going to continue like this with the Arab Spring, with the unstable political situation in Egypt? Just your personal opinion.
To be honest, I think it's the opposite. As I said, the unrest happening now in the Arab uprising will push students to go to the advanced countries like the US, UK, and Australia. I'll give you an evidence, which is from figures from the WES, from World Education Services. They compared quarter 1 2012 versus quarter 1 2011 for the Arab students studying in the US, and they found a significant increase in the number of Arab students going to the US. 180% growth for Bahrainis, 90% growth for Syrians, 70% growth for Jordanians, and 41% for Egyptians. So the answer to your question is that, in my personal opinion, I don't think that 6%. Yes, it was in the earlier CASP batches, but nowadays, I tell you that I think it's the other way around. A lot of students, they prefer to go to the advanced countries where stability is there.
Stability is key issue. Online learning is also a very important part. How would you describe the situation with online learning for Saudi Arabian students right now? And do universities in Saudi Arabia and do employers in Saudi Arabia accredit online learning?
Actually, online learning is a major phenomenon, not only in the Middle East or the Gulf area, but also in the globe. The ease and convenience online learning offers to the learners who are trying to balance between work, family, and other commitments, in addition to their dream to pursuing degrees from universities. These two important factors, the ease and convenience, actually, they are pushing governments to accredit online education. I'll give you two examples. The first one is in Saudi Arabia, where the biggest electronic universities opened and started to accept students in July 2012. This is the first example. The second example is in Jordan. In 2010, there was a royal decree where they approved and accredited all online education, distance learning, and all degrees from electronic universities. So yes, online education is the trend now, and I recommend all educational providers to adopt online education because it's the trend nowadays.
Can you give hints and tricks, or which is a perfect way to get into the online learning market in Saudi Arabia for me being an educator?
Actually, online education now is accredited in Saudi Arabia. So all universities who are trying to promote their courses, the on-campus courses, they need to also include their online education courses. And I can see this from Australia, for example. Australian universities are really promoting their online education in a very effective and efficient way. So I recommend all universities in the world especially from advanced university in the US, UK, and Canada, to also promote their online courses in the Middle East and North Africa region.
Do you know how is the way of accreditation for promoting online learning in Saudi Arabia? Is it the same ministry?
I think it's the same. The university or the educational provider needs to apply through SACM here in the US or in any cultural mission in the destination, and then this will go to the MOHI, and the same process with the usual on-campus courses. The same process will go on, and and they will get accredited. Yeah.
Thank you very much on this very interesting insights of Saudi Arabia. This was ICEF Monitor, and Professor Balawi. Thank you for having you here.
Thank you.